It's 8:45 p.m. on Monday the 27th of March 2017. The regular season's over, but we're not. It's the Cat's Whiskers Podcast live. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Cat's Whiskers Podcast. My name is Jono Bullard. We've got a packed show. We've got 3 games to look back on. Panthers against Storm, Panthers against Steelers and Storm against Panthers to end the regular season. Plus some of your thoughts as well that you sent to us on Twitter. We've got an interview with Rob Scott from the Nottingham Panthers Supporters Trust about the formal meeting which will be taking place this Thursday at the NIC. And we've also got a look ahead to the Play-Off quarterfinals which take place this weekend. But first it's time to welcome my guest for this... My guest? No, sorry. I'll start that again. It's time to welcome my co-presenters for this evening. First, Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
Good evening.
And secondly, Mr. Paul Balm.
Hello. Just remind us which one of us makes our money in the media.
Yeah, Aaron.
How much is Andy? We don't get it like this when we've got Aaron in charge, is it?
I know. I had a long day yesterday. That's all I'm going to say. But that's no excuse. Anyway, shall we crack on?
I think you've had one too many pints in Paul's virtual pub.
Oh God, if only. Shall we crack on anyway?
On it.
Let's get this over and done with.
If you do want to get in touch with us throughout the show, you can do via Twitter. It's at Cat's Whiskers TV, and we will do our very best to mention your tweets as we go through the show. But first, we're going back to last Wednesday. Panthers taking on the Manchester Storm. A vital game for the Storm as they were still fighting for playoff qualification at that time. Jack Prince opened the scoring in the second period at 23:41 for the Storm. Jeff Dimon equalised at 29:16. But in late in the second period, Trevor Johnson put the Storm back ahead before Mario Trabucco scored the empty net goal to seal the victory. It was 3-1 to the Storm. Nicky Forrock and Sertic were the healthy scratchers for the Panthers, but it wasn't a great performance by the home side. But did Storm deserve their win, Paul?
You have to remember a completely forgettable game. Essentially. You may have noticed I took great exception with the Panthers Twitter account on Wednesday night saying how well Clemente was on fire playing out of his skin. Well, I'm sorry, but we weren't just getting quality shots on him. You know, that there was very little that he saved that wasn't a routine save. We just had no imagination up front.
And do you feel the same way? Do you think Storm deserved the win?
Yeah, they did. We were pish, to be honest. We did interested. We didn't look bothered. But like Paul said, I mean, it's something I've said a few times, that our forwards are capable of making the worst goaltender in the league look like an all-star. And yeah, we didn't actually create that much for Clemente to be throwing himself around at. I mean, he played a solid game. Fair play to him, and you know, had he not been there, had somebody else been in goal, it might have been a different story. But no, we were poor, and we've been poor, and we've been coasting for the last couple of weeks, and I'm really worried about how we're going to get through this weekend, to be honest.
And Paul, we mentioned Clemente there. He did make quite a few good saves and got the man of the match. But is saying the Panthers were poor taking it away from Storm a little bit?
Well, it is a bit. I mean, I think in any situation when you say something like that, you are doing a bit. But I didn't think the Storm were that great either. To be honest, it was an utterly forgettable game. Really, we did look like we were going through the motions. Storm turned up and did enough to win, and that's all you can ever ask from a team, really.
I mean, and Storm were the ones who really needed to do something in that game because they were the ones after playoff qualification. I mean, to be fair, we had nothing to play for. But did it surprise you that they perhaps didn't attack the game from the start? Because I thought, like Paul, the first period was instantly forgettable, to be honest.
I thought they looked nervous. It's a young organisation that's only in the second year. Everything on the line going into the last two. I think they just didn't want to lose to begin with. And obviously that first period, bit of a feeling out process. And then probably when they realised that we just weren't that bothered either, it gave them a bit of a G up. And they thought, well, actually we could win this game tonight. I think I said last week that I thought they'd get 3 points from these two games, and I was proven right. Unfortunately, I was also proven wrong with Dundee qualifying, but you can't get them all right. That's why I can't win bets.
Yeah, bets. That's why Bet365 love you so much. But
other betting services are available.
Oh yes, of course. Just on the sort of victory, it was a very, how can I put it? I wouldn't say a muted response from the crowd at the end of the game. There wasn't any booing, I noticed, but it seemed to be a lot of shrugging shoulders and walking out. I mean, Paul, you've said many times in the past that perhaps the best message to send to the team is just complete silence and walk out, and pretty much that's what they got.
Well, it didn't particularly work, did it? Because Friday wasn't much better, but we'll get on to that. But I think the sort of shrugging the shoulders and, just walking out is really sums this season up for me in a lot of ways. It's the league's been gone for months. This team, will soon be gone. You'd like to think that not many of them will be back. And it was a nothing game that got, for us anyway, obviously not for the Storm. It was a nothing game that got a nothing reaction, and to be honest, in a lot of ways, it's what it deserved.
Okay. Well, of course, that performance took Storm into the final weekend of the season, still with a very good chance of playoff qualification, and we will come on to that a little bit later. But first, there was another game on Friday night at home. Panthers taking on the Sheffield Steelers for the 642nd time this season. The game ended with Steelers winning 3-2, who started their backup netminder Bradley Day. Panthers taking the lead, 4:36 on the clock through David Clark before Levi Nelson equalised at 17:05. Into the second period, and Colton Fretter put the Steelers 2-1 ahead before Stephen Schultz equalised at 28:08. Sheffield getting the winning goal at 38-24 in the second period, Fretter with his second of the night. But also a controversial incident with 16 seconds to go as Panthers thought they scored. They thought the puck across the line, but it was ruled not to have done by referee Tom Perring. So we will start with that incident. And Paul, you were adamant at the time, and you've been adamant before we started the show, it did not cross the line.
It didn't. It was possibly on the line when Day got to it, but it definitely didn't cross the line. And I was talking very briefly to the guy who does the Panthers highlights later on, and he confirmed that he'd watched it back and it didn't. But it didn't. But to be honest, I don't think we deserved anything from the game.
I mean, in what way were we just not as good as them? I mean, obviously I wasn't at the game. I've very, very briefly seen the highlights, so I can only go on what my Steelers supporting wife tells me, which is a bit one-sided. Yeah. So
yeah, the highlights would be brief, frankly. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see our second goal, and it's all your wife's fault. because she was telling me to Norton Lee at the time. And then I turned around and we scored. But it was just a lack of idea. A lack of... My kids will enjoy this because they're fed up of hearing the word. A lack of cohesion, a lack of togetherness. I mean, I was watching warm-up. Sheffield players were laughing and joking, juggling the puck, passing it in through the air to each other. And, they were obviously enjoying it. We just looked workmanlike. They could have had Darren Day in goal and we wouldn't have won. Again, the one goal that we scored that I did see, I wouldn't have blamed Dave for. Rod Starrett lets Davy Clark stand in the crease and just put the puck in there without even trying to move in. So I don't quite know what's going on there, but yeah, just a complete and utter lack of ideas.
Mm-hmm. And is that a fair assessment? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, Paul's got it pretty much spot on. It was another meh performance. Maybe I don't know whether the team have now felt what the vast majority of us have been feeling for the last few weeks, and certainly this season with the amount of the games we've played against Sheffield alone. But it was a Panthers versus Steelers game, another sellout. Yet they were the capacity crowd were left with nothing really to shout about. It was it's boring. We've been riding on it for us, so I didn't really, it's you want to beat your rivals, but you've played them that many times. I didn't really care what had happened. I didn't care if Sheffield won. I didn't care if we won. I stood there, I sat there and watched the game, and then left as soon as the game had finished. And like Paul said, I didn't think it had gone in either. In fact, I thought it was going to get ruled out for goaltender interference. But I've watched the replay now, and obviously it looks like he pulls it back off the line. It's a fantastic save, well done, but we would not have deserved that equaliser.
Is it more of a case, and I'm only saying this because I didn't see it, but is it more a case you think that there's complete apathy with Nottingham Sheffield games these days because they happen so often, or do you think it was more to do with the fact there's complete apathy against the Panthers because of the season that we've had?
I think it's a bit, to be honest. And I don't think it just extends to Steelers games. I mean, you look back a couple of years and how feisty those Coventry games were getting. But now, the only two games that Panthers don't double up in the Challenge Cup league round I can't speak myself now. I've got Jono syndrome. Are the Coventry and Sheffield games. So there's another two games against him this, during the season. Familiarity breeds contempt. I think, and it's just, there's nothing to him anymore. That this weekend might change everything. Who knows? I think a lot of it comes down to the way Panthers have been playing in the league this season. Complete, it's rubbish basically for the vast majority of the season. But yeah, there is a touch of God, we're playing Sheffield again. Whoop-de-doo. I think it was somebody had put on the cage. It worked out that we played him once every 13 days or something like that over the course of the season.
I looked at it on. I put something on Twitter yesterday. Out of all the domestic games we played, so this doesn't include the Continental Cup. 21.2% of our domestic games this season have been against the Sheffield Steelers.
So over a fifth.
Over 1 in 5. That's ridiculous, as far as I'm concerned.
But every game we've had against them this season at our place has been sold out.
Apart from the Challenge Cup semi-final, which didn't. But even so, you've got 6 sellouts. You've probably got a combined crowd of over 50,000.
And I guarantee you that Sheffield's crowds at their place would have been probably 2,000-3,000 more than what they'd get in a normal game as well. So I can't see it going anywhere, unfortunately.
I mean, Paul, I know we're straying off the game as such, but do you think this is the issue? Is the fact that we play them so many times, but still we're getting sellout crowds, and while that's happening, it's probably not likely to change. Even though us as more, shall we say, season fans say that it's boring and we're fed up of it, but the figures don't lie, and while it keeps selling out, surely that it's not going to change at any time in the near future, as much as we would like it to.
Well, where's the what's the word I'm looking for? Where's the impetus to make a change when that's happening?
Yeah,
the Panthers will be very happy. It'll selling out. They're already bragging 1,000 tickets sold in an hour or something for this weekend, and seemingly they're happy with a load of fans coming in. Because I'm sorry, where I was sat, it was there were people just weren't bothered about the game at all. They're just, the woman row in front of me spent most of the time turned round talking to somebody behind her. Why did you spend 18 quid or whatever it is now to go and not look at something? You could have just sat in a bar and done that. And unfortunately, with the Sheffield games, that's the crowd people are bringing. Oh, it's Panthers, Sheffield, well, that. And then just don't interact, don't get involved. It's go to the pictures, go to the cinema, be easier, cheaper, probably, I don't know. But hey, they keep selling tickets, so why should we bother?
Okay, we will leave that one there, because let's face it, we're going to be talking about it again later. Move on to Sunday. Ended in a bit of a farce, it has to be said. Sunday, it finished with Panthers with a 3-2 shootout victory. However, not in the way that you would expect it to go normally, as we only had 2 periods. So, Storm taking the lead through Mario Trabucco in the first period. Jason Williams equalising for Panthers in the second. Trevor Johnson putting the Storm back ahead, but 41 seconds later, Andy Sertic getting the equaliser. However, at the end of the second period, the game was abandoned due to poor ice conditions, and the game went straight to a penalty shootout, where Panthers won 2-1 to take the extra point. Now, there's a lot been said about this, and I suppose it's lucky in a way that Coventry lost in Sheffield, because had they not, well, we would have had a very, very big controversy on our hands.
Well, I suppose the conspiracy theorists are going to point out that it only happened just after Manchester, just after Sheffield beat Coventry, and Manchester's place in the playoffs was
sure.
Whether that's right or not, I distinctly doubt. But in another way, though, it's a fitting way for our season to end, really, isn't it?
I suppose it is. Ant, what was your thoughts when you first heard about that?
I laughed. I'm not going to reuse the jokes that have been going around as well. Panthers only been a 2-period team for most of the season anyway. But yeah, it's
when we were lucky.
When we're lucky. It's just another roll your eyes moment. The thing nothing came of the result. It didn't mean anything. But I thought those games were supposed to be, if a team can't finish a game, they lose the game in regulation. So I don't know why we went to penalty shots unless it was decided a mutual agreement between 2 coaches. I ain't got a clue. But it's the Elite League; anything can happen.
I was shocked when I saw it. I just thought it can only happen in this league. But again, it just makes us look so amateur, because surely in any other league it would be replayed. And I know there's the issues over ice time, and the playoff quarterfinals are starting at the weekend, and I get that. But either the game has to be forfeited, or you replay it, or am I completely on the wrong track?
Well, no, I think I'd probably agree with you, but I'm sure if we look far enough back, there's a precedent probably in the Elite League. But like I say, this is the Elite League where the only thing that's consistent is inconsistency.
Mm. Yeah,
these are the people who employ DOPS. Remember.
Mm. Just another thing from that game that I found very interesting is that Sertic, Moran and Spang were healthy scratches, so the captain was scratched, but I believe Matt...
How did Sertic score then?
Sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, so Carter, Moran and Spang were the healthy scratches. I've got...
I thought Carter was injured.
I've got the wrong information, but yeah, it came out later that Carter was injured. So they still scratched Moran and Spang despite only being down to 13 imports. Was that a surprise?
I think Corey's been rotating his players over the last few weeks. Anyway, it was a shock to me, if anything can shock you nowadays, that Sakanis was dropped on Friday against Sheffield. Line that with him, Lacko, and Ollie has probably been our best line over the last couple of weeks. But I just think Corey was just rotating everybody, making sure everybody got a bit of game time. To be honest, I don't think we can read too much into it. Obviously, with Carter's a different story. He was, I think, based on the fact we've dropped 2 imports, probably Carter was due to play, and then when he realised he was injured, obviously they've not played him, but they've left the other 2 at home, maybe, I don't know.
I suppose, if anything, if you are going to rest players, this was the game to rest them for.
I suppose so, yeah. I mean, just to get them a bit of extra time, preparation. I don't think there's anything in the players that were dropped. I think it's probably too late to be doing that. So it probably was just they were the ones who needed the rest most. So that's what.
Okay, we'll move on to some of the thoughts that you have tweeted into us over the past 24 hours. And Patrick Smith from A View from the Bridge, he was at the game in Manchester last night. He says, first period, you look like a team who didn't know each other. Second period, Williams' goal was beautiful. There wasn't a third, as we know. Ant, you want to say something about that?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It was a decent little finish off his backhand, and the deke was lovely as well. But Paddy, if you think that's beautiful, you need to check out Farmer's goal against Coventry, because that is another world. If you think Williams' goal is one of the best things you've ever seen. I love you, mate, but yeah, it was all right.
Okay. Kieran Brasher, he says, should the game against Storm have counted as a regulation win? I mean, I think we've said
we've already discussed that.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I personally, I think it should have done.
Yes, it should have done.
Yeah, fair enough. Ben Royal, he says that the performances in all 3 games were lethargic. Players seem to want to go home and move on to next year. Is that a fair assessment? I think that's pretty much how we all feel, to be honest.
Yeah, I can relate to that, and I'm already at home.
Lee Constable, he says, I only saw the Storm home game. We were our regular poor selves, bad passing, bad defence and bad offence. Jordan Brandon, poor games with lazy performances. Pink Panthers, he says, seems we are just going through the motions. Are we serious about the playoffs? Because 7 other teams are. Time will tell. Let's look on the bright side. No third period collapse in Manchester. I quite like that. And finally, Richard Halauka, he says, glad it's all over, to be honest. Players look like they've had enough. And this seems to be a theme that's coming through. And I've heard it going back a couple of weeks that fans have been saying the players actually look like they've completely had enough. I mean, does that feel the same way to you guys?
Yeah, and I'm worried. I mean, it's playoffs time. It's all about momentum, and we have none. We have a team that just doesn't look like it wants to play hockey at all, aside from 1 or 2 players, the aforementioned 4th line and probably Farmer. It's abysmal, and that's whether they've caught that on from the apathy of the fans over the last month or so, or it's full, and we could be in for an absolute drubbing this weekend. And how fitting would that be to end this awful season? On the flip side, we could turn around and be world class again and scrape a win from nowhere. Who knows?
Paul?
Everything except the last sentence. Yeah, we are the only momentum we've got going into the playoffs is that we're going downhill fast. Really, the only I can see something positive about playing Sheffield in the playoffs. It means that for most of us, and the ones who aren't going to Sheffield, it means that we're one day sooner to seeing the back of a lot of these players.
Fair enough.
Frankly, that's the point of it. But what I would say though is, going through those, the various tweets from the various people, thanks for sending them in. How we all see the game differently. There's a wide spectrum of opinion there, wasn't there?
Yes, yeah.
Some people were picking up on the bad performance. Some people were saying we're lazy. Some people were saying we're going through the motions. What a variety!
I think that tells you all you need to know, to be honest, to make a serious point. And the apathy at this season's team appears to be growing, but we shall see what happens this weekend, and we will talk about that a little later. But first, on to something a little different. The Nottingham Panthers Supporters Trust that we've been talking about over the past few months will hold their formal meeting on Thursday at the NIC. This will be the meeting to decide whether the trust gets formed officially and becomes a part of Supporters Direct, and it will depend on getting a yes vote from the people in attendance. To talk about that and the trust, I spoke to the trust founder, Rob Scott, earlier today. As most people know, we've been talking about the Nottingham Panthers Supporters Trust for some months now. I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast Rob Scott.
Hi, John.
Hi, Rob. Well, it's a big day on Thursday. It's the open meeting for the official formation of the trust. But just firstly, how did we get to this point?
We got there because of the usual kind of moaning and grumbling on the forums and Twitter in the summer. So I kind of thought, this is Groundhog Day. It's the same every year, so let's try and do something about it. And then the idea of a supporters trust was mentioned, and fast forward, I guess 9 months, and here we are.
So it's going to be an open meeting. Just briefly go over what format it's going to take and what's going to be involved.
Yeah, so this is an open meeting. It's open to absolutely anybody, whether they're pro-trust or against it, or even at this stage indifferent. It's part of the legal process of setting up the trust formally. So the kind of running order will be doors open at 6:30, meeting starts at 7:00, and the meeting will be chaired by Supporters Direct, the government body that sets these things up, basically. So I'll do a little intro about what we've done so far, the things we've achieved, and what we're looking to do in the future if everything goes well. Then Supporters Direct will do a talk about what a trust is, how it differs from a supporters club, and they'll kind of outline the kind of things we could look to make a difference with in the future. After that, the guys from Nottingham Forest Supporters Trust will do a brief talk about what they've done and what they're looking to do. And after that, Supporters Direct will hold a formal vote to see if there is support within the room for the actual formation of the trust. If we do get a yes vote at that point, then we will set up as a community benefits society, which will be registered with the FCA. So that's all kind of fairly slow, tedious legal stuff, but we'll be aiming to get set up in time for the start of next season, basically.
I think it's worth pointing out that even if you are vehemently against the setup of the trust, it's an opportunity to be heard as well. It's not just to go along and say, we want this to happen.
Yeah, sure. Whether people are kind of pro, against, or somewhere in the middle, this is kind of your chance, because one way or another, we'll either be formally setting up or not after Thursday's meeting. There will be a Q&A section as part of the meeting as well. But you can contact me in the meantime as well if you've got any questions before the meeting comes up.
Of course, you had a meeting at the Bunkers Hill in January that was very well attended after the Edinburgh Capitals game. And really, momentum towards the Trust and the interest in it has grown from there.
Yeah, the momentum has been good, and we were pleased with the turnout for the last meeting. From the indications we've had, we're expecting another good turnout. One of the things about this legal meeting is that you do have to hold it in a venue that's big enough for anyone who could want to turn up. But yeah, if we can get another good turnout, that would be great. I think the momentum's kind of grown because we've kept things very positive, but we said this is a potential way that we can help to make some positive changes at our club. So a lot of fans that have been a bit frustrated with things this season are kind of getting on board and saying, right, what can we do?
So let's assume that we do get a yes vote and the Trust is formally allowed to set up. What are the next steps?
So the next steps are we kind of formally engage with Supporters Direct, who then help us to set up the Trust as a community benefit society. So there'll be a lot of kind of paperwork to go with that. Once we're formally set up and registered with the FCA, the next step would be to contact the club again once we are set up and say, this is what we want to do. We want to work with you to try and help make some positive changes at the club.
Okay, Rob, we'll just leave it there for the time being. Want to wish you all the very best for Thursday. Just before we go, just give us all the details, so where, when, and also how people can contact you.
Thanks for having us on, Jono. So the way people can get in touch, they can visit our website, which is www.pantherstrust.co.uk. They can email me direct on rob@pantherstrust.co.uk. They can get in touch on Twitter, which is @NPSupporters, and they can find us on Facebook, which is @Nottingham Panthers Supporters Trust. Yeah.
So it's 6:30, doors open, and it's the Bolero Suite at the NIC.
Yeah, Bolero Suite on the 3rd floor of the NIC. Doors open at 6:30 for a 7 o'clock start.
Many thanks to Rob for taking the time to speak to me earlier today. So, guys, you both been to meetings. We've talked about the Supporters Trust quite a lot. It seems to have come round quite quickly, this open meeting, so it sort of really is make or break for the Trust on Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, what I understand, it all depends on the vote, and you've got to hope that they can build on from this and go somewhere with it. I am extremely disappointed, but not one iota surprised about the Panthers' almost offhand reaction to it. I mean, what was it Neil Black said? Oh, we won't be at the meeting because we get invited to things like this all the time. Have I been missing something? Have these Supporters Trusts been getting set up all the time?
Not as far as I'm aware.
No, exactly. But it's. I personally think they'll probably fight it tooth and nail, almost. That doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. It doesn't mean that it's not a good idea, because it is. It's exactly what's needed. We need a way of having a better discourse between the fans and the club. The club need to understand that the fans are the lifeblood of the club. Without the club, there's no fans, but without the fans, there's no club either. And so I personally really hope that something good can come out of all this.
And
yeah, like Paul said, I mean, it's disappointing that the Panthers haven't seemingly engaged with the guys that are trying to get this set up. I know it's not official yet, and it won't be official until hopefully on Thursday, if the people there, the vast majority of the people there vote yes. But it's got to be a good thing. Surely communication between your fans and the club itself if you can improve that, that's only going to lead to good things. I mean, I know, from speaking to the guys that are involved, none of them, this isn't like a takeover attempt. They're not trying to get Black out. They're not trying to get Moran out. They're not trying to get Corey out, etc. It's pure, it's not about a group of people with pitchforks and torches and trying to storm down the doors of Panthers Castle. It's about communicating better with your fan base. And it's all well and good we're selling out every game against Sheffield this season, things like that, but that'll only work for so long. There's only so many new fans out there, and as soon as they've gone once and they see, if they get the impression, this club doesn't give a rat's backside about how it treats its fans and everything, they're not going to come again. There's God knows how many people that I used to go to the hockey with that don't go anymore. Not to do with the players' performances or anything like that, but purely because of the way the club treats its fan base. So anything that gives a better direct line of communication between its fan base and the club, and maybe get the club to open its bloody eyes, sorry for the language, open its eyes and its ears and actually listen to the people that are paying the vast majority of the, for the tickets and everything. It's got to improve things. And, like with anything, why not give it a go? Why not, open the doors? Okay, we're going to send somebody down. We're going to listen to what these people have got to say. Once the trust formed, if the trust gets formed, once they've got formed, we'll listen to their representatives. You never know. They might come up with something that they like, and which, in course, then more money. There's no point in just turning them away and saying no. I mean, if the trust gets set up, like I very much hope it does, then legally they've got to listen. I just really, really hope that the Panthers organisation can just get over the closed door policy. And it's not about, like Neil Black says, we're not bothered about hearing the ins and outs of the ongoing operations between the club. It's nothing to do with that at all. It's purely to start. Is to build a better link between your fans and the club, because in my eyes, they can't be further apart at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, there are people we know, Jono, who have offered their service free of charge to the Panthers to help with things, and have been turned down, almost out of hand. And is that a real phrase? They've been turned down without any sort of real thought, and you have to question quite why they're being like that. Good businesses listen to their customers, and more than that, they listen to the customers that aren't happy. You learn nothing from somebody telling you how great you are. I mean, we can all make a banner for a 5-star reviews and put it up at across the bottom of it and put it up at the Premier. Where are those 5-star reviews coming from? But I digress. It's you have to listen to those that are unhappy. I mean, and as we all know, that there are some people who are just going to be unhappy, whatever happens. But you also have to listen to the ones who can help, who can say, well, I don't particularly like this. Why don't you do this? I mean, and there are ideas out there. There are people with the skills to help who want to help. So if the club aren't listening, then the club are the ones who are losing out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the people that are trying to get this thing going are doing it to harm the club. They're all big Panthers fans. They wouldn't be doing this otherwise. They care deeply about the club. They've invested years and money and what have you following this team from the top of Scotland to as far down as, well, I think Coventry's as lower down as we go until next season, isn't it? It's probably before that when London were around and stuff like that. It's not like it's a bunch of, like I said, angry people with pitchforks and torches and stuff like that. It's people that want to see their club be the best, And surely that's what the club should want to.
And and I totally and utterly agree with that. And one of the things that Rob has done since he started with this idea with the Supporters Trust is it's about positive change. It's not about being negative. It's not about starting protests or protesting against the management. It's about working with the club. He has said that consistently since he set it up. It's about working with the club to make a better link between the fan base and the club themselves. And maybe that can bring a much, much better relationship. And that's why I feel it needs to work. It needs to happen. And hopefully someone in the club will listen and talk to them when it's sorted out, when there is a formal supporters trust. Because what have the club got to lose? When you when you bring it down to brass tacks, they have nothing to lose. They might I think one of you said earlier, they could actually get some ideas and make more money from it. It's surely it's a win-win situation, but we will see what happens. For those who wasn't sure, the meeting will take place on Thursday at the NIC. It's on the 3rd floor in the Bolero Suite. Doors open at 6:30 for a 7 o'clock start. If you can get down there, if you feel strongly about the relationship between the club and the fans, and you want to try and make a difference, I strongly suggest you get down to that meeting on Thursday night. Okay, we shall move on. The other Elite League results news, and of course the playoff quarter-finals coming up that we will wrap up the show with. But first, the results from the weekend. As we know, the Manchester Storm took the final playoff place with the 3-2 shootout loss to Panthers on Sunday. Coventry Blaze losing 4-1 in Sheffield, which means that they finish in 9th place and miss out on a playoff berth. The Cardiff Devils, with a 4-3 victory against the Belfast Giants at Ice Arena Wales on Saturday night, take the Erdart Conference title. Stars and Fife shared the spoils in a home and home doubleheader series. Stars winning 7-5 in Fife on Saturday, and Fife winning 4-2 in Dundee on Sunday. And finally, the Edinburgh Capitals and the Brayag Callan also had a double-header. Callan winning 8-5 at home on Saturday, and then beating the Caps 4-3 in a shootout on Sunday. So, that leaves the playoff quarterfinals looking like this. Cardiff, the top seeds, will take on Manchester. Braehead, the second seeds, due to winning the Gardner Conference, will take on Dundee. Belfast will take on the Fife Flyers, and the Sheffield Steelers will take on the Panthers for the 13th and 14th meetings between the two teams this season. So we'll start at the top. The number 1 seeds, the Cardiff Devils, and the champions, the Challenge Cup winners and now the Erdart Conference champions, will take on the Manchester Storm. So first against 8th, and foregone conclusion?
I'm going to repeat myself throughout this bit, but I think it depends how the home leg goes for Manchester. If they can get out of the storm shelter with a win of any kind, I think, shut up shop. Clemente has a worldie. It could see them surprise everybody, to be fair.
I suppose, well, the setup is that it'll be at Ice Arena Wales, Cardiff choosing to take the first leg at home on Saturday, and then at Altrincham on Sunday. But I suppose
I've not done my research, sorry.
But I suppose that's fair, though. I mean, I suppose it depends on that away leg for Manchester on Saturday. If they can stay within a goal or even get a draw, then the tight confines of that Altrincham rink, we could see a shot. I personally don't see it. If I'm honest, I think Cardiff have got too much for the Storm, but you never know.
But you say the tight confines of that, of the rink in Manchester. How many of this Cardiff Devils team played at the Big Blue Tent?
That's a good point. I think a few.
They're pretty much exactly the same, but
yeah.
Well, I mean, Cardiff are the heavy favourites. They've been pretty much fantastic for the better part of the season than anybody else. That's why they're champions. That's why they won the Challenge Cup. Well done to them. But like you said, Johnny, if Manchester can keep it tight, they could even snatch an away win. I've been trying to find the fixtures for the Manchester Storm's games in Cardiff this season. While
they won one and lost one.
In Cardiff?
In Cardiff, yes. I think they were the only Gardner team to win a game at Ice Arena Wales this season. And
you never know with slushy ice in the second leg. They could end up playing half a period.
Can you imagine?
Go straight to penalty shots. Who knows?
Can you? Yeah, get a draw. Go to Ice Arena Wales. Get a draw. The ice plant off.
They play penalties.
On the strip up the middle, they'll be fine. Apart from the fact that they managed to lose to us in a penalty shootout.
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, the next one is the Braehead Clan, second seed due to winning the Gardner Conference against the Dundee Stars, who finished 7th. It'll be in Dundee on Saturday and Braehead on Sunday. Now, do you think this could be closer than expected, considering it's really 5th against 7th? Because Braehead getting the second seed due to that Gardner Conference title win. But in reality, it is 5th against 7th.
It could be, but they've got most of their points against teams in that conference. I mean, look how long it is since they won that conference. So, but you don't know. This is playoff hockey. This is the nature of the beast. The way it's set up now. And
don't forget that Braehead have only qualified for the Final Four once in their history.
So, who knows? Well, they're the biggest chokers now. Cardiff have finally won the league, aren't they? Cardiff have got
trophy for that.
Yeah. Cardiff have got that monkey off the back. They've won 2 Challenge Cups in the last 3 years, and now the league title as well. So I think we can well and truly take away the bridesmaids title from the Devils. Like Paul said, they've got most of the points against the conference rivals. I can't see anything but a Clan Final Four appearance here, and that's certainly where my money will be going, which means Dundee will probably win.
The next one is the Belfast Giants, who finished 3rd, taking on the Fife Flyers, who finished 6th. That will be at the SSE Arena on Saturday in Belfast and back in Kirkcaldy on Sunday. So, can we see a potential shock here, or do you think the Giants have got too much? I personally think this is going to be probably the most open contest of all 4 matchups, and I think there'll be a lot of goals in this one.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I think Belfast will still edge it, but we were talking there very briefly about how short playoff format is, and look at 2007. Panthers won the playoffs in 2007 because Rashdo decided he was not going to let a penalty shot in. Shane Owen has a good game, then a couple of good games, then who knows what can happen.
Yeah, and
home games. Who are better of the home games? I'm just going through the Belfast fixture list now. They won 1, lost 1 in the Challenge Cup, home and away. They seem to be winning the home games, losing the away games. So again, like we said with the Manchester Devils one, if Fife can get out of the SSE with a small margin to come back, we all know how rowdy Kirkcaldy can get, and sometimes based on what Eric Nielsen got up to, something a little bit more. If the fans can get under the Giants' skins, if the players can just do their thing, if they're netty as a Wildy, we could see Scottish teams in the playoff semi-finals once again.
Oh, we're getting that Scottingham thing.
Scottingham Mark II, yeah. Scottingham 2 back in training.
This time it's personal.
Well, there's definitely going to be one Scottish team there. So Brayhead or Dundee will be there. So can Fife join them? Personally, I think Belfast will have too much, but I think Owen in the Fife goal does hold the key to this. And like you say, if he has a couple of world class performances, then we could be seeing the Fife Flyers at the Final Four once again. Finally, the Sheffield Steelers against the Nottingham Panthers. It's been looking like that for a good few weeks now, and it was finally confirmed on Sunday night. So the NIC on Saturday, Sheffield Arena on Sunday. Matt Carter will be out for the Panthers. His season is over. Mike Ratchuk is out for the Sheffield Steelers. However, do we think this could be a net-minding battle?
Hopefully. Any sort of battle I'll take, frankly. I can't see this being anything other than a Sheffield win. Probably in both legs.
Okay. And
I don't know. This is the first game I'm going to go to in a long time where I might be caring about what happens on Saturday night. I have every faith that if the Panthers team turn up like we know they can, no team goes to Cardiff and wins 8-0 on a fluke. It can happen. Steelers missing Ratchuk is huge for them. He's a damn good defenseman. I know they're carrying spares, so probably Saric will slot in at the back. You know what? Who knows? You know what? Forget it. We're going to make the Final Four. There you go. I'm going down the Aaron Lord. We're going to do it. We're going to make the Final Four.
Would it help if
money's on Sheffield?
Would it help to say that Aaron actually predicted Sheffield would go through? So we're all doomed.
He's changed, hasn't he? He's changed that one.
I've talked rubbish for a long, long time. It's not going to change now.
Can I just say though about Matt Carter? I do think it's quite ironic that he'll be missing the playoffs, given the number of times he's gone missing this season.
Yeah.
It's not just him. It's not just him.
Well, the fans' predictions, quick, Jono, move on, quick. You'll notice.
I think there's only one result here, and I think it's a Sheffield victory. But I think the only hope that the Panthers have got is that Mika Viekman is clutch in these situations and these sort of games. So if Mika can pull off performances like what he did in the playoff finals last year, then we have a chance. But like Ant says, it needs everyone pulling in the same direction. It needs that sort of Continental Cup mentality that we had in Italy. And
we've got to turn this on the way we did last year. The way we played 230 minutes of almost perfect hockey to win the playoffs. We had a 10-minute wobble against us, and that was it. But
we know we can do it.
We can do it, but I can't see it. I wish I could, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just can't see it.
I just think that I hope just for 2 nights, unless we get absolutely stuffed on Saturday, obviously, for 2 nights, the Panthers, the whole of the Panthers nation, put their gripes aside that we've had this season. We've had a lot. Paul's article is brilliant, by the way. Give it a read for this week. Sorry, Chewbacca's growling in the background. Let's just get behind the team from the moment the players skate out. If you go to the warm, get behind the team. Give them a boost, because they're going to need everything that they're going to need everything that's going in our favour. Let's do this as a collective. Is it time? Was it a couple of years ago we won the Challenge Cup just based on shouting "Believe" all the time? Let's do that again. Let's get the Believe banners out.
I admire your optimism, but I think there's a lot of us who just don't believe, and I don't want to feel like that. Of course I want us to win. Of course I want us to get through to playoff weekend. But with everything that's happened with the team this season, I just can't see it. And I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to be pessimistic. But just Sheffield have just been better than us. And I can't see that changing over a week.
Yeah, aren't we 4-4 against them in the league, though?
3-5, I think.
I know we lost both challenges.
Christmas is a long time ago, but look what we did to them there. But what you've got to remember, Ant, is that Jono's impassioned pleas are basically brought to you by the fact he doesn't want to sleep on his settee.
The thing is, the one thing I will ask you, though, guys, and it's probably a question best suited for Wednesday. Okay,
we've got plenty already. We'll get out of the way now.
Yeah, miracles happen, and we beat Sheffield over 2 legs and get the final 4. Would you rather then lose in the semi-final or the final, or would you rather us not get to the playoff finals? Because I don't know how I feel about the whole thing. You know, it would be great if we get past Sheffield, but then what's the point if you don't win it?
Yeah, but there's 3 teams out of that final 4 who aren't going to win it.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Is it just prolonging the agony? Is what I'm trying to. Last previous seasons, I would have gone. Yeah, if we make it, we can win. But is this team the way we've been? Is it if we scrape past Sheffield? Is it just prolonging the agony going into the final 4? I don't know. Let's see what people.
I don't know either. For the simple reason you can't discount home ice advantage. And to be fair, if we get through to the final 4, we do have home ice advantage.
Oh, don't start that.
Yeah, but wait, it's true though. It's played at the arena we play.
Oh yeah. For me, I mean, I think it's a case that I'd rather lose on playoff weekend than not get there. Mainly because at either of the games we lose on playoff weekends, I'll be half cut anyway, so that it won't hurt as much. But if you're there, you've got a chance. You've got to be in it to win it. See, and other national lottery game shows are available. But it's I just can't see it happening.
Okay, some of the final 4 predictions that you sent into us over the past 24 hours. So Ben Royal, he's gone for Cardiff, Sheffield, Belfast and Braid making the final 4. Lee Constable, Cardiff, Belfast, Braehead and Sheffield, so exactly the same. Jordan Brandon, Cardiff, Braehead, Belfast and Nottingham, as they always seem to perform for the playoffs. Kenwyn Jones, Storm, Giants, Stars and Panthers for the final 4 with hashtag shocks on there. I think that certainly will be if those 4 make it. Richard Haloka, he says Cardiff, Belfast, Dundee and Sheffield for the last 4. So over to you guys. So Ant, your final 4?
I'm going to go for the top 4. So Belfast, Cardiff, Braehead and Sheffield.
Okay, Paul?
Probably same here, but I think the closest ones will be the Braehead, Dundee and the Belfast 5.
Okay.
If there is going to be a shock, I think it'll be in the Belfast 5. Because us not getting there will not be a shock.
No. I will go for Cardiff. I think Braehead will do it. I think I agree with you. If there's a potential shock, it will be the Belfast 5. So I will go for 5 in that one, and Sheffield. So yeah, Cardiff, Braehead, 5, and Sheffield the final 4 for me. But we will see who is right after next weekend. Okay, that will be it for tonight's show. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget that Ask TCW will be back on Wednesday at 8:45pm, live as always. To get your questions in, do so via Twitter at CatsWhiskersTV. Use the hashtag AskTCW. Use the TCW Facebook page. Send us a message on there. Our email, tcwonlinetv@gmail.com. You can send a question. And also our dedicated thread on the Cage Forum. You can leave a question on there as well. We've already had quite a few questions for Wednesday, so keep them coming in, and as many as we can get, that will be fantastic. So all that remains for me to say for tonight is thank you very much to Paul Balm.
Thank you very much.
And also thank you very much to Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
No problem. Thanks, Jono. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everybody else, for listening.
Yeah, and as Ant says, thank you very much to you for listening. We'll be back on Wednesday, and we'll be back next Monday reviewing the playoff quarterfinals. But until then, thank you and goodbye.